Bright morning everyone, I am Precious Pipio and today we will be discussing about sustainable development. So let's have first identify what is globalization. Globalization. It is a mechanism that making sure that people will have more opportunities for sustainable environment and development as well as securing sufficient supply of food. So this idea is to find ways and help the environment and make sure we have enough food for everyone now and in the future. Next is what is sustainable development? In 1987, the term sustainable development was coined during the Commission on Environment and Development or the WCED. It was defined as development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, sustainable development means improving life today without hurting the chances of future generations to live well too. It's about balancing what we need now with what they will need later. Sustainable development, it also recognizes the economic and social needs should be balanced with the capacity of the environment. Global actors and governments must make policies considering social, cultural, economic development, and environmental protection. So we need to balance people's need and environment. So government should make rules to help societies, culture, and the economy, and also protect the environment all at the same time. So there are different organizations interpret sustainable development differently. Like for example, number one, World Bank. It is sustainable development means considering the cost and benefits of developmental and environmental policies, focusing in meticulous economic analysis in order to reinforce environmental protection. So, World Bank thinks that sustainable development means carefully looking at the good and bad sides of projects for both the economy and the environment. So, they want to use economic analysis to help protect the environment. Second, the IUCN, WWF, and ENEP. Sustainable development is about the conservation of ecological processes, the safeguarding of genetic diversity, and the balanced utilization of species and ecosystems. So these groups believe that sustainable development means protecting nature, keeping a variety of plant and animal life, and using natural resources in a way that doesn't harm them. And last, Edward Barbier. For him, sustainable economic development is about improving the poor people's standard living in terms of enhanced food source, increased real income, education, health, services, water supply, and sanitation. So for him, he sees sustainable economic development as raising the living standards of poor people by giving them better access to food, income, education, health services, clean water, and sanitation.
Bright day, everyone. Today, I'm going to discuss the next slide, which is talks about Millennium Development Goals, or also called MDGs. So, what are those? So, in year 2000, the global leaders from UN member states reached a consensus and adopted the Millennium Development Goals, or also called MDGs, to pursue poverty reduction and human development. So no, in year 2000, the global leaders from UN member states created the MDGs. So their main purpose why they created that because they want to pursue the poverty, or they want to reduce the poverty and also develop the human development across different worlds. No, they want to develop it around the world. So it is composed of 8 goals that are targeted to be achieved by the year 2015. So inside that goals is they created 8 goals. So the MDGs has 8 goals that must be achieved in year 2015. So it means the span of that goals that to be achieved is 15 years. So they must achieve it in year 2015. So what are those 8 goals? So the first goal is to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. So 'di ba mostly in year 2000 and 2015 is in the Philippines, for example, is all of high rates of poverty and hunger and malnutrition to every family across the nation in the Philippines. So this means that's why they want to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger is they want to make sure that fewer people na lang will suffer from hunger and live on very low income. So these goals not mean na matangtanggid nila tanan na poverty, but to lessen the poverty. So in the Philippines, 'di ba, sa aton nga nation is ilahang way to lessen the poverty and hunger is the government promoted or they they passed the bill that is the 4Ps, which is a cash assistance to attain the basic needs of the poor people. 'Di ba? Mostly mga 4Ps. And also, did you notice that in school that mostly the malnourished ones is have have been entering in the feeding program so that they will sustain their body, so they will be healthy. And next, the second one is to achieve universal primary education. So this means is their goal is to aim to make sure that all children can go to school and finish primary education. 'Di ba? In year 2000 to 2015 is free na ang education. Free ang education sa primary and secondary. So wala gi tay rason nga di mo eskwela. So we are all free and welcome to school. And the third one is to promote gender equality and empower women. So this focuses on giving equal rights to women and opportunities, especially in education and employment, right? Because ang diba sa una, ang most dominant is the male. So they say that women should only be at home working all the chores, and while men will be going to school and doing all the work. So which is not equal right now. So they promoted that it should be equal for also to women. So that's right now the Philippines promoted Magna Carta of Women, or also called women rights, so that more girls can finish basic education than boys. So that's why in police may girls na, that na dayon ang mga engineers may girls also, not just for boys only. The third one is to promote and in number 4 is to reduce child mortality. So what is child mortality? So this goals is, it means that the number of children who die before the age of 5. So this goal is to lower the number of children that die at the age of 5. So that's why the Philippines promoted DOH for proper immunization for the kids, and vaccines, then vaccines for measles, or also called tipdas, and polio, and pneumonia, also mga TB, mga free vaccinations for all the kids para malesen ang child mortality. And also more kids will be having awareness also for Nutrition Month. So we should eat all the nutritious food so that makalikay ta sa mga child mortality. And next is, the number 5 is to improve maternal health. So when we say maternal health, it means giving better health care to mothers during pregnancy, childbirth, and afterward. So, di ba, ang sa una, wala patan-ani na mga goals is mostly sa mga kumadrona lang ta na walay mga lisensyang panganak. But right now, in the year 2000, open na to mini clinics, and naanay mga sa PhilHealth na mga free prenatal check-up na mamonitor gid ang lagay sa baby and also sa mother. And number 6 is to combat HIV, AIDS, and malaria and other diseases. So, this goal focuses on preventing and treating deadly diseases that affect millions of people worldwide. So, amo ni siyang nagahatag na ang Philippines ng free HIV testing, which is right now kuan Japon sila naga-awareness, and also medicines, panghatag sila medicines, and also mga mosquito control program. And also, did you aware that mostly in every barangay na ay mga campaigns for having a health education so that we can prevent the diseases. And next is, number 7 is to ensure environmental sustainability. So when we say environmental sustainability, this deals with protecting the environment, making sure that the resources are used wisely, and also addressing issues like deforestation and pollution. So this means that in every barangay sa ato ang kuan is nagapromote sang tree planting, proper waste segregation, and naga-clean up drive, kag also protecting conserving our biodiversity, which is ng Palawan, ang Sierra Madre, and also the Tubataha Reef. So we are conserving our own biodiversity to protect our environment. No to deforestation and pollution, because that only cause climate change. And last is to develop global partnership for development. So this means that countries should work together and share resources and support each other to achieve development, so also called as globalization. Diba, for example, dako gid kayo na tabang ang mga OFW sa aton sa Philippines because they help us through their remittances. So what they earn from outside the country is been transferred here in the Philippines by giving their remittances to their loved ones. That's why the money is flowing from the other country and flowing in here in the Philippines. That also called share resources. And also, we are supported by the World Banks. We're supported by the World Banks where we are connected globally. And also by the UNICEF and WHO, which is the World Health Organization, and also called education, health, and environment projects. And that's why they want to develop the partnership so that the world will become a better place. So from the 8 goals that I've stated, are those achieved in year 2015? Are you sure? Let's find out. Although significant improvements were attained in some goals, such as decrease in the proportion of people living less than $1.25 a day, extreme poverty is still persistent. So, it means that even though many improvements happened, like decrease in the number of people living on less than $25 a day, ang extreme poverty is still continue man in so many areas. So, business as usual or the continuation of existing global and national development strategies present barriers to full achievement of the MDGs. So it means the United Nations mentioned that business as usual, or also called simply continuing old strategies made it difficult to fully achieve the goals. Lisod gid. So wala gid na meet ang goals in year 2015. So because of this, the MDGs were not fully completed by 2015. That's why later on, the MDGs were continued and expanded the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs in year 2015. So the MDGs, they enhance it in Sustainable Development Goals. That's why in year 2015, they adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, which have 17 goals that must be achieved in year 2030. And to proceed to that SDG will be discussed by the next reporter. So thank you.
In 2015, UN member states adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals to address poverty and inequalities and climate change by the year 2030. So here are the 17 goals are the following. Goal number 1, no poverty, means that having no money or things live well. This goal want to help all people have enough money and a good life. Goal number 2, it is a zero hunger. So hunger is when people do not have enough food to eat. This goal want everyone to have enough food every day. Goal number 3, good health and well-being. Good health means that feeling healthy and strong. This goal want to keep people safe and help them not to get sick. Goal number 4, quality education. So education is a learning things at school. This goal want every child to go school and learn well. Goal number 5, gender equality. So gender equality means boys and girls are treated the same. This goal want everyone to have the same chance in life. Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. Make sure everyone has clean and safe water to drink and proper toilets to stay healthy. So goal number 7 is affordable and clean energy. Give everyone access to energy that is cheap, reliable, and friendly to the environment. Goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. To create good jobs for all people and help the economy grow in a fair and a steady way. Goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So build a strong industries, better roads and buildings, and support new ideas for progress. Goal number 10, reduce inequality. Make sure everyone is treated fairly and reduce the gap between rich and people poor. So goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. We want cities to be as safe and clean for everyone. People should have good homes, parks, and transport. Goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. We should use things carefully and not waste them. Factories and people must make and use things without harming the earth. Goal number 13, climate action. We must stop bad changes in the weather caused by the pollution. Everyone need to help protect the earth, air, and temperature. Goal number 14, life below and water. We must keep ocean and seas clean and safe for fish and plants. People should stop polluting and overfishing the water. Goal number 15. Life on land, forests, plants, and animals. On land need protection. We must stop cutting trees and hurting nature. Goal number 16. Peace and justice, strong institutions. Everyone should live in safe places with fair laws. Governments must be honest and help people and equality. Goal number 17. Partnership to achieve the goal. Countries and groups must work together to reach all goals, sharing ideas and help makes the world better for all.
Economic globalization and sustainable development. The current trend of economic globalization, adhering to New Deal, possess threat to the attainment of sustainable development. Economic globalization means enhancement of trading among countries. One of the most important goals in the pursuit of economic growth or enhancement or production of goods and services. Increasing trading, it's also about encouraging competition. Furthermore, the structural adjustment policies imposed by the World Bank companies local economies to prioritize their payment of foreign debts and open local resources and market to foreign corporations. These neoliberal measures increased the wealth of tenancies while decreasing social services budgets intended to uplift condition of laborers, women, and farmers and other consumers. Common resources also threaten sheep protection of land, water, and other natural resources. In the midst of this hardship presented by economic globalization, global civil society and mass movements create innovative campaigns and strategies to opposite neoliberal globalization. People organize themselves to respond to unsustainable global economic processes through protests, legal battles, negotiation with governments and alliance, or network building.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Precious Darmajay Navales, your next reporter. And this time, we will going to discuss about global food security. There is more than sufficient food produced globally to meet the food needs of all people on the planet. Despite this, an estimated 124 million people experience acute hunger today, approximately 40% or 40 million higher than the numbers from 2 years ago. Small-scale farmers, fishers, and rural workers produced approximately 70% of food globally, but are among the most vulnerable sector to food insecurity. So why nga ang mga farmers, fishers, and rural workers are among the most vulnerable sector to food insecurity? First of all, let's discuss the farmers. Ang mga farmers, not all own their own land. Not also all have enough access to the land, technologies, machines, and even the equipments. Also, the fishers, hindi adlaw-adlaw mayong tiyempo because of the climate. Nakadepende ang ilang fishing sa climate, and also sa rural workers or the laborers, hindi enough ang ila ginasweldo para ma-provide pagkaon sa ilang kaugalingon or even sa ila family. Now, let's differentiate food security from food insecurity. Food security occurs when every person, every time is able to physically and economically access sufficient, safe, and nutritious food, depending on their dietary needs and food preferences towards an active and healthy lifestyle. So food security is simply being able to access or having the access and any food or sufficient, safe, and nutritious food, while the opposite one is food insecurity. It is the phenomenon when people don't have adequate physical, social, or economic access to food. So food security is the complete opposite of food insecurity. Kung maghamal ta food security, you are secured or you have access sa pagkaon, unlike sa food insecurity wherein you, from the word itself insecurity, hindi ka secured sa pagkaon or you don't have enough access to food or don't have an adequate physical or social access to this. So they are complete opposite. Food security brings into public policy the food-related problem of famine, hunger, and food crisis. Nations and global institutions make various commitments to achieve the eradication of hunger and food insecurity. So food security urges government and global groups to address hunger and food crisis, leading them to create policies and commitments to end hunger and improve access to safe and nutritious food. But despite these actions to address these issues, global food security remains to be a major concern.
So now let's proceed. To understand the phenomenon of food security and food insecurity, various measures and indices have been developed. These measures and indices becomes the basis for action to eradicate food insecurity and demand accountability from governments. So to understand why some people have enough food and others don't, experts created different ways called measures or indices to check and measure food problems. These measurements help governments see how serious the problem is, the actions to reduce hunger, and make sure they are responsible for improving food security. So, example of the indices used for food insecurity are, we have here the Global Hunger Index. This looks into indicators such as the share of the population related to. So, the Global Hunger Index is a way to measure how serious hunger is in a country. It looks at four main signs of hunger in the population. So, we have here first the undernourishment. So, referring to insufficient caloric intake. So, this means people do not get enough calories from the food they eat. So, like for example, a family eats only one small meal a day because they cannot afford food. They do not get enough energy. So, they are undernourished. Second, we have here the child wasting. So, referring children with low weight and relation to their height. So this is when children are too thin for their height because they are not eating enough or they get sick often. So like for example, a 3 years old child is very skinny compared to the other children of the same height because of severe shortage. So, next we have here the child stunting, referring to children under the age of 5 that have a low weight in relation to their age. So, this is when children under age 5 are too short for their age because of long-term lack of nutrition. So, like for example, a 5-year-old child is in the size of a typical 3-year-old because they did not have enough healthy food during their early age. So, next we have here the child mortality or under 5 mortality rates. So, this refers to children under 5 dying due to hunger, malnutrition, or diseases related to poor nutrition. So like for example, a young child dies from severe diarrhea and malnutrition because the family lacks clean water and proper food. So those are the indices in the Global Hunger Index. So these indicators are given standardized scores to come up with the Global Hunger Index or are the GHI, so score of each country. So the GHI can monitor the state of hunger in the national and global levels to inform policy and actions where they are needed. So, why these indicators matter? So, all these factors are given scores. When combined, they form a country's GHI score, which help. So, it helps daw sa check how hunger the population is, compare hunger levels between countries, and also guide the government on what actions are needed to reduce hunger.
Good morning, everyone. Let's proceed with Hunger Reduction Commitment Index, or HRCI. So, HRCI is a tool created by the Institute of Development Studies to evaluate how serious governments are about fighting hunger and ensuring food security for their citizens. So, it examines what governments are doing in terms of policies, laws, and spending to address hunger and malnutrition. Initiated by the Institute of Development, studies looks into three themes that measure government's political commitments in attaining food security, government policies and programs. So the first one is policies and programs. So this looks at the specific action and strategies a government implements to tackle hunger. So the second one is legal frameworks. So legal frameworks, this assesses whether there are sufficient laws and regulation in place to support food security and nutrition. The third one is public expenditure. So public expenditures, this examines how much money the government allocates to address hunger and malnutrition. Some of the indicators being measured in HRCI are institutional coordination, whether there is a coordination body to address hunger and malnutrition. This assesses of this coordinating body. So, ang institutional coordination, this assesses if there's a dedicated group or body responsible for coordinating efforts to combat hunger and malnutrition. So, and how effective it is. Next one is government and intention and action, about priority action of the government on hunger and malnutrition. So government intention and action, this evaluates the government's stated priorities and concrete steps taken to address hunger and malnutrition. So the next one is analytical rigor. So about the generation of scientific evidence, hunger and malnutrition is the basis for public policy. So, ang analytical rigor naman, this looks at whether the government uses scientific data and research to inform its facilities related to hunger and malnutrition. Fourth one is learning and adaptation. So, about the government efforts to innovate with the policy approaches to eradicate hunger and malnutrition. So, learning and adaptation, these examine the government's willingness to try new and innovative approaches to eliminate hunger and malnutrition. So the HRCI aims to hold governments accountable for their promises to reduce hunger by measuring their actions and commitment in a transparent way. It is hoped that this will encourage governments to prioritize and take effective action and empower communities to advocate.
Some factors affecting food security. So, food security is a multidimensional issue ensuring the ability, accessibility, utilization, and stability of food are linked to several social, political, economic, cultural, and environmental processes and factors. So, food security means making sure people always have enough good and safe food to eat. It has four parts. The ability, must be enough food to produce or trade. So, food is ready to be eaten. So, accessibility, people must be able to get or buy the food they need. Utilization, food should be healthy and safe, meeting the body's needs. Stability, these three parts must stay steady all the time, even during problems. Food supply means the ability of food and how it is grown, processed, stored, and given to people. It covers the whole journey from farms to the table. When there's enough food available and it can reach people, the food supply is good. Food supply chains is this whole process of making food ready for consumption. Letter B. Food prices are how much people pay to buy food. This price can go up or down because of changes in the production causes, whether demand or other factor. When food price rise, it become harder for many to afford enough food. C. People income is the money or people income is the money people earn from work or other sources. The amount of income they have affects if they can buy enough good food. If the income is low, buying enough food is difficult, even if food supply is good. Changes and shocks in social and natural environments are sudden events like storms, droughts, floods, economic crises, or social problems that affect food supply, prices, and people incomes. These shocks can cause food shortage, raise price, and reduce people's ability to buy food and making life harder for money. That's all. Thank you.
Bright morning, everyone. I am Samantha Jane Peralta, and I am the last reporter. So today, let's proceed to globalization and food security. Food security that is linked to the complex process of food production, consumption, and distribution intersects with issues of trading, forms in agriculture, as well as rural development. So, food security is connected to every stage of food system, from how food is produced, distributed, and consumed. It is influenced by trade policies which affect the price and availability of food, agricultural reforms which helps farmers improve production and sustainability, and rural development, which strengthens farming communities and ensures stable food supply. When these areas work well together, people have reliable access to safe and nutritious food. So next, economic globalization involves foreign trading of food. This encompasses the creation of a global food supply chain, or the process involving the production, manufacturing, consumption, and disposal happening across different national borders. So this means that economic globalization inaallow ang countries to trade food across borders, creating a world network of production and distribution. So this results in global food supply chain where growing, processing, consuming, and even disposing of food happen in different nations. So cultural globalization also creates changes in people's taste, preference, and consumption. For instance, transnational fast food corporations have operated in different countries. Some of the biggest fast food chains are McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Subway. So this means cultural globalization influences people's food choices by introducing new flavors, eating habits, and lifestyle trends from the other countries. So this is seen in the widespread presence of global fast food chains like what I've said, like McDonald's, KFC, and Starbucks, which shape local preferences and everyday consumption. So last, economic globalization can also tremendously impact food security. So in the Philippines, agricultural food production weakens because of the decrease in government spending for agriculture as a consequence of the structural adjustment program imposed by the IMF and World Bank. So in 1982, 7.5% of total government expenditures went to agriculture, then spending decreased to 3.3% in 1988. So this means the economic globalization can weaken food security when global institutions push policies that reduce a country's investment in its own agriculture. So like in the Philippines, this happened when our government spending on agriculture dropped from 7.5 in 1982 to 3.3% in 1988 due sa IMF and World Bank structural adjustment programs, resulting in weaker local food production.